No, espera, espera. Muy bien.
My attempt is to apply Cuban authenticity to our truth, wisdom, and growth. I became aware of this during my first visit to Havana in 1985. The major shift in perspective was that I could feel myself alive, and all what beforehand existed on the level of doing started to grow into inner sensing. And immediately I knew that this feeling is so powerful that I wanted to share it with my students and colleagues. I've since then taken people to Cuba to reconnect with their own self, nature, sound, and other people. They've learned to acknowledge the value of presence and awareness, things that are often obscured by fear and ambition in competitive dancing. Seeing people liberated from these constraints was a reward unto itself, which got me thinking, how can I bring some of the joys and values back into international style competitive Latin American dancing? It is not so much about comparing the authentic and competitive style, but more about acknowledgement of the specifics and uniqueness of both. However, competitive style could be enriched by conscious implementations of authentic values to various areas of dance expression. And I'm eternally grateful having Professor Dr. Ruth Vermeij by my side throughout all 4 editions of Cuban Experience project in Havana.
What's interesting about this project, this Barbara Ambroz contribution of decades of traveling to Cuba, and what she's done, she brought home some values and ideas, what people are dancing there, what we can implement in our international dance style. Things like authenticity, values, being organic into yourself. And to be authentic, really, you know, what does it mean? Partly of authenticity means to be really yourself, to be you and to be present in each moment. Then we are authentic. So the idea is not to imitate Cuban culture. It is to use the values from that culture, what we can use and implement in today's style. So what I personally enjoyed in those years of participating in those workshops in Cuba was like the sound, the relationship of the sound, the singing and the movement and the environment, of course. You know, people come, I remember the first time I came in, people don't count their rhythm, they sing, they start singing, and you are immediately feeling that energy into your body. That's one of the values I really enjoy. Another thing I really enjoyed is this improvisations and this playfulness right in the moment. That was so nice. I enjoy having a set choreography like in our international style, but even within a set choreography, you can be quite playful about it and contribute more towards the dance rather than just having a set choreography only. You know, what's really nice as well from Cuba is the idea of expression. You know, what is expressed is partly through the self, the expression of movement and music. In a way, the self becomes a little bit less important. In our international scene, the self is so important. There's so much look at me rather than look at my dance. So what's interesting in Cuba too is that the strengths of the medium, with that I mean the components of the dance, the setting, the sound, the people, the technique, you name it, is actually helping you towards a whole feeling of dance. In our institution, often the components of dance, like the setting, the institution, the judges, the competition, the politics, takes over, and fear enters us, and we're losing authenticity and freedom. And I think we can implement those Cuban values into our dancing. I think that will be really exciting.
being grounded is both a physical and a spiritual property. Root support represents the element of earth as well as our stability and safety. In African tradition, dancers cherish Mother Earth by posturing towards her. There is a sense of communication with the ground and with nature in all Afro-Cuban dance styles. When this movement tradition met with the Western one, dances like danson and son evolved. The posture and poise changed towards elegant uprightness and sophisticated dance holds, but the connection with the ground remained. This sensation of being grounded and yet fluid is also supported by the percussive groove, which is present in Latin American music. The intense vibration of percussive instruments stimulates the primary energy center in the body, the so-called root chakra, which is located at the base of the tailbone and connected to the feet and legs. Feeling the entire body weight through the foot connection with the ground is essential for earthy and fluid movement in every dance style. It's at the core of the balancing process. Being aware of pulling the floor and pressing against it, minding the consistent vertical, horizontal, and sagittal opposition in the body and simultaneous centering. The feet in authentic Cuban dances caress the floor. Cuban dancers often dance barefoot and they distribute their weight evenly over the entire foot. Foot placement also responds to percussive instruments, especially the clave. A dancer has to relate both feet in order to create a sense of motion rather than just a step. The amount of foot pressure depends on the movement manner and the chosen interpretation. In international style rumba, the most frequently applied footwork is low ball flat. Arriving on the foot early enough provides enough time to apply hip and body movements. Foot articulation, as well as the coordination between the feet and the legs, have a profound effect on timing and rhythm. Hip movements are one of the major characteristics of Latin dancing. Why this body area is expressed in such a unique way goes hand in hand with the music and the always present percussive instruments. The sound and vibration of the rhythm evokes a spontaneous reaction in the human body. The pelvis starts moving in coordinated circles, activating the lower and upper body along the way. Hip movements are also heavily rooted in African tradition, where there's no prejudice against expressing oneself through the central body area, and therefore hip poetics carry narrative value. In competitive dancing, the right use of hip movements can also encourage and facilitate the execution of movement. That's why we speak of the functional value of hip movements. Hip movements are an integral part during weight transfers and weight transportation through the foot. The hip settling is like a spring mechanism, which facilitates the weight transfer. Natural pelvic swing orchestrates the centering. Hip twisting distributes body weight economically, and hip rotation encourages the forward poise and the volume of the entire pelvic motion. The degree of hip settling in rumba is the lowest in comparison to other Latin dances. Cuban dances, danzón and son, introduced two unique features: the contratiempo cubano, Cuban timing, and Cuban motion. The clave pattern stimulates and encourages the dancer to start the movement on the second or on the fourth beat in the bar, and never on beat 1. Hence the name contratiempo, which means against the time. In Cuban music, the clave is a key instrument, which holds everything together and gives the drive and the orientation to the dancers and other musicians. Cuban motion consists of exact and sudden weight transfers, following the clave in company with consistent hip movements and upper body reactions. Cuban song gave a large number of basic syllabus actions, movements, and figures to international style competitive rumba, some also to cha-cha-cha, such as cucaracha, basic movement, progressive walks forward and backward, side step, Cuban rocks, underarm turns, closed and open hip twist to fan, alemana, hockey stick, rope spinning, opening out to right, natural and reverse stop.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Scalora Danceport. That was quite the introduction, wasn't it? Now, to bring in our guest, which that video featured, ladies and gentlemen, we have the one and only Miss Barbara Ambroz. Hello.
Hello, Alessandro.
How are you today?
Hello to all your audience.
Hello, hello.
Yes, fine. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Are you located in Slovenia right now?
Yes, currently I'm at home in Ljubljana.
All
Slovenia.
right, very nice. And tell me, how's the weather today in Slovenia? How are things in Slovenia today?
Well, so. A bit of a sun, a bit of a rain. Autumn is coming, but colors are gorgeous.
Good, very nice. Is the chilly weather coming in a little bit?
Yeah, it might, but we will still have some sunny days for the next few
Good. So just hang on to summer there. Just hang on a little more. So, Miss Barbara, you have many years of professionalism in the dance sport world. So let's start from the very beginning of those years. Tell us, how were you introduced into the world of dancing?
Well, it was in a primary school when I was 13. We had a possibility to be a part of a special course for ballroom and Latin dancing. And there was a lovely teacher, young girl. Her name was Mojca. She was my first teacher. She was an active amateur competitor at the time. And just learning from her and admiring her, I was mesmerized.
You're wowed, right?
Yes, I was wow from the very beginning. Although I did a bit of a ballet as a child, and I somehow always enjoyed listening to the music, improvising, birthday parties, and so on. But then she gave me an opportunity to audition for the club where she was competing.
Very nice.
So at the age of 15, I auditioned in the club. I passed the audition. I got my first dance partner there.
Very nice.
So this is how I started to train regularly on daily basis. And then, of course, having beautiful teachers in my home country, Slovenia, for both ballroom and Latin. And when I was good enough, they took me to London. I believe I was 17 for the first time. So this is where we first visited Jeffrey Hearn and Peggy Spencer and Sidney Francis studios. And later on, when I decided not to compete, because I stopped competing at the age of 21, I just felt strongly that I want to teach dancing. to be a dance teacher. Then I started to go to England regularly with my first young couples, first Slovenian juniors and juveniles. And that was the time I connected with Lorna Lee and Mixtilianos, Peter Maxwell, and Lorraine. And I've learned the most being in connection with all those
with those guys,
gorgeous icons and very knowledgeable people, including Mr. Walter Laird. Later on, also on the field of ballroom with Bill and Bobby Irwin. And somehow those people took me under their wings as a young teacher and extended me many, many opportunities to travel with them around the world, starting to judge competitions. I passed my qualifications as a trainer and international adjudicator at the age of 25.
Oh, wow. So, that's very nice. Congratulations.
Yeah, I guess I was just blessed and very fortunate that so many great dance experts were and still are part of my development.
Of course, of course. Now, with that being said, I did have a few questions come into mind. Now, first, as at such a young age, having to travel already to London and the UK, tell me, were your parents supportive of your dance career?
Yes, both my parents were extremely supportive, although I come from a very modest family, but they took extra jobs to save money. We were also traveling to London by car, at that time, which is, one day travel, because we could not afford traveling by plane, for example.
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
Now, tell me, you told me, if I got it correct, that you got your adjudicating license at 25. Now, do you feel maybe, did anyone maybe judge you, for use of better words, for that decision? Where people are like, oh my goodness, she's too young, she's not qualified. What do you think? How did you
Well, I was very young, and of course I was unexperienced, but we had and still have fantastic opportunity to gain qualifications through Faculty of Sports in Ljubljana, where we also have a dance department. And in order to gain a license as a teacher first and later on as a coach, trainer, and judging license, we had to attend 2-year education, which was not only about, knowing all the syllabus and technique books, but also history of dancing, sports psychology, anatomy, many subjects. So I believe from the education point of view, I got very good support. And then, of course, trust. I believe people trusted me with judging job as well, because I came out with well-trained young dancers at the time.
You had a product, right?
Yes.
Very good, very good, very good. Now, this degree you were mentioning here in the United States, we don't have something exactly like it, but do you mean the Master of Sports that they have there in Europe?
Well, depend on the country, I know that in Russia or, for example, Lithuania, is it possible to study dancing within the sport academies? In Russia, I believe they also have dance academy, which we also established years later here in Slovenia. So depend on the country. Many countries have performing arts academies, so people can gain education as performers in musicals, for example. Those academies are not focusing only on the dancing, but also singing, acting, and so on. But
a little bit of a more general aspect, like theater, yes?
Exactly.
Interesting, intriguing. Now, tell me, so throughout these years of adjudicating license at 25, tell me, I think everybody wants to know, where did this fascination with Cuba come from? How did you get motivated to go to Cuba? This love for Cuba, where did it come from? Tell me.
Well, it came probably out of love for music, because I was listening to authentic music. Also, my father was a big lover of jazz and Latin American music, played instruments. And it was always my dream to travel to Latin America. And That dream came true in 1985 when I had the first opportunity. We traveled there with my husband, and I still remember vividly the feeling, stepping out of the plane, and I somehow felt I'm at home.
Oh, nice.
It felt home, and of course, then we were returning many years. In '92, I had the first possibility to attend 2-week course within Conjunto Folclórico Nacional in Havana. That was my first serious attempt to start studying authentic Cuban movement and music. And later on, I also met Dr. Alan Olavo Rodriguez. He's probably one of the best musicologists in Latin America. And I was returning back to Havana, more than 35 times, I guess, studying with him as well, more into the detail Cuban music.
Now, with all these trips to Havana, to Cuba, tell me, where did the inspiration for the book come from? Because we saw that you're an author as well, an established author. And then as well, the documentary is it's very nice and professional looking. So tell me a little bit about the book.
Well, it was never planned, actually. When I was writing the text for documentary, because I had this idea after doing Cuban Experience workshop in Havana. I started with that project in 2014. So I just wanted to have a document that people would have clearer picture how we can implement those authentic values from movement and music into competitive dancing. And luckily, all 5 years doing that research project in Havana, I was in a great company of Professor Dr. Ruth Vermey, and also from USA, Tony Meredith, Nadia Eftedal, and Ron Montes were participating. So we could do comparison, in between authentic style, international style, and American rhythm. So being so involved and busy then with this documentary, I realized there was so much text still there. I said, okay, maybe I put it together nicely, and this is how the book came out.
Right. Yes. So to discuss a little bit about the people there along with you, dancers, because in the documentary we saw dancers such as Kristina Moshenskaya, Marius Balan, Andrei Silvestri. Tell me, what was their reaction to this project? How did you bring them on board? Said, guys, let's go to Cuba.
Well, I presented the project into the detail, and over 5 years doing that project in Havana, there were about 300 dancers and top coaches from all around the world attending this project, regardless the federation. It was just done for those who want to study,
who had passion
research,
for it, right?
going deeper. Yeah, you have to ask them how they felt, but they still all want to go back, and they continue asking when it's going to be the next one,
When's the next one? I want to go back to Cuba.
I assume, yes, we had great times there. Not only from the perspective of learning, acknowledging, but also the way how dancers and teachers connected as human beings. The connection established there was so genuine, pure, human, supportive, loving. So, yes.
I see. Now, something that just came into my mind, I do have to say, back, I think it was the year of 2019, you were here in the United States, and actually you did a lecture in my academy, in my studio. And I remember the lecture was on cha-cha-cha. And I do remember vividly, you were instructing us that a lot of people forget the last cha, the cha-cha-cha. And that was one thing I do remember from your topic. And I was like, and then you started playing the authentic Cuban music. I was like, I like this. I want to do the Cuban Experience. Tell me more. And so that was something, it really stuck with me. So that lecture is still in my head. I even remember what you were wearing. You were wearing these nice black pants, this black shirt, and the nice pearl necklace. So that's how much it stuck with me.
Are you aware you are talking to the 60-year-old granny?
I thought it was motivational. Look, inspiration. Whatever inspires me, I'm going to take it. Whatever I can learn from. So I loved it and I enjoyed it.
It's
So to
nice to hear
discuss,
that.
to hear a little bit about this Cuban experience, we're hearing Cuban experience over and over again. Tell me, what is Cuban experience? What is the definition? What is this experience?
Well, I believe how we experience new environments, new sounds, new movements, new people. It's very individual. Every person entered not knowing what they are going to experience there, and I believe they returned home richer, fuller.
More wise, you think? Wiser, maybe?
It's like, I don't know, something evokes inside you, you know, you start to remember that it lives already in you, but you need environment
Something to
that
wake it
can
up.
trigger all
Yes.
treasures we carry within ourselves. You know, in Western society, very often we stay closed. We do not share unconditionally. So I believe Cuban Experience gave to all participants not just additional knowledge and insight into authenticity and values, but as well reminded all of them how beautiful life is when we are connected, when we are present, when we are truly open, not judgmental.
So almost open-minded. So this Cuban experience is like a way for you to just go there open-minded and take as much as you can learn. Just put it all in and then see how the results are. Yes?
Well, it was a combination of what came in, but mostly also pulling out, you know, suddenly in the right environment, you start pulling out what you already carry within yourself. We are well equipped through our DNA imprint and heritage we have as human beings. So I think it was more of a pulling out rather putting in.
Right. And yes, that's very interesting, very intriguing. I do have to say, while I was preparing for this lecture, I did watch the whole documentary series, and I was quite interested with everything that you had to say about all the technical qualities with the rumba and the posture towards Mother Nature and the feet brushing on the floor. It was quite intriguing because just from that documentary, from that viewpoint, as just a viewer, I was already able to feel a little different, take a different perspective of cha-cha-cha, of rumba. Especially, I think what really brought it to the next level was the authentic percussion music. And I'll be honest with you, I love to dance to that music, to this feeling, because it gives me a feeling. As an Italian, I grew up Italian, but I was born in Russia. It's quite strange, but I love the broken down music, the minimalistic instruments. And if you can create something out of that, I'm glad you can. And what I like even more from your project is you could take that beat and maybe one interprets it as cha-cha-cha, or maybe another one interprets it as bolero, or maybe somebody hears something else, but we're all dancing and making music. And I really do like that. It's very intriguing. Now, our following question, you did mention a second ago about American rhythm and American smooth. Now, these styles are slowly growing in Europe. Now, tell me, do you want to see American smooth, for example, at the German Open or at the Blackpool, and rhythm? Where do you want to see these styles in the future?
Well, these styles are rich, unique, long history. I mean, how many icons of that style still live in USA, you know, and I just hope it will spread more around the world because, you know, I always admired USA as a country, not only because people would say this is the country of opportunities, but it offers a very particular common sense, practicality, accessible manner of functioning in daily life. And I believe also the approach towards dancing and syllabus was genius because they managed to create a syllabus which is accessible for people from the very beginning, and then it can grow, and of course it does, in top performing art form. So yes, I'm very happy to see that pro-am competitions, which is another specific from
Yes,
your
Pro-Am
country,
is very, very big
and
in the United States.
smooth, and yes, American rhythm. USA still kept that flavor, that connection, because Latin America is much closer to you than to us, and
Sure, of course.
you can see it as well. I had an honor to judge many competitions in your country, and always great music.
All right, there we go.
They still know what is right
We have good DJs then.
groove, what is right groove, and
Yes, yes. The good vibe, good
the good
atmosphere. Yes.
vibe, the good motion. So yes, beautiful
I
stuff.
I will
Very
be honest. Yes, I think all competitors really prefer music that is authentic. For example, music that is phrased correctly, because that makes such a big difference, even with the choreography. Because, for example, if your choreography is set to be with phrased music, then the correct music will tag along with the choreography, and I think it really brings it to the next level. So let's move on topics a little bit. I want to speak a little bit about Danceport now, the industry. Now, tell me, how does the future of the Danceport industry make you feel with the creation of the WDO, partnership with the breaking, progression of the style of dancing? Maybe have we lost maybe a little bit of individuality? Tell me, what do you think?
well. I don't know about the future. I can maybe comment only the present situation. I believe the present situation requires resetting of values,
Tell me.
starting with human values, honesty, integrity, respect towards different schools of thought, inclusion. So I believe if we would manage, starting with ourselves, you as a competitor, my colleagues as teachers or judges, to be aware what truly matters in life. Because separated, we are weaker, and connected, we can be always stronger. Although I understand the need for separation, because if you find yourself in a situation that you do not feel accepted or appreciated or free to express or controlled or conditioned, then you search for solutions and new ways of being connected with people with similar frame of mind. So whatever is happening right now, I think it's happening because it cannot be other way. Human being will always search for solutions, for additional layers of existence, for opportunities where you can contribute to the institution your maximum.
Right, right. So what it seems to be, as you're discussing this, I'm thinking immediately in my head. So, excuse me, my dance coach. Not only is she a very strong dance coach, she's also a businesswoman, and she as long, excuse me, some lessons that I do with her is she teaches me about this ARC triangle. And so what it sounds to me from what you're discussing is maybe we as a society in the dance industry need a bigger ARC triangle. And what this is, the A stands for affinity, R stands for reality, and C stands for communications. So affinity would be, for example, like I have an affinity for dance. I love dance. You, Miss Barbara, also have an affinity for dance because you love dance. So you and I, we both have affinity for dance. And then the reality, let's say, for example, the color, this color is red. You agree this is red. So we're in the same reality that this is red. And then the communications is us talking. So maybe it seems like as an industry, whether WDSF, WDC, WDO, maybe we need a bigger ARC triangle and have a little more affinity, be in the same reality, and have communication. Is this a little bit, am I understanding correctly?
Well, I worry that I will understand you correctly. I'm not familiar with this triangle. I never feared conflicts or disagreements. I believe they are very necessary in every society because these are strong energies. And as long as we are focused towards finding a way out, good resolutions, not necessarily compromises, but just being aware that as people we are all different, so we are entitled to perceive the world in
To interpret
individual
it
way,
in different ways.
but
Right.
having still, you know, flexibility, understanding, respect, appreciation. So yes, struggles are okay. I think in every relationship there are always
Of
struggles,
course.
and
Of course.
the most important is that you have clear intention how to deal with them and what you learn out of
How to
them.
handle them. Yes. Yes. Agreed. Now, tell me, with this being said and all these thoughts being provoked and triggered, tell me, if you had the possibility to make a drastic change, whether it's in the present of Danceport or in the future of Danceport, what would it be? What are you thinking?
I'm not sure drastic changes are possible. Normally, we go step by step, gradually,
Yes, yes.
with understanding, patience, a lot of dialogue, which is always necessary to find good resolutions.
Good communication, yes.
Good communication. I wish people we would be more connected and respectful, regardless the school of thought we are carrying within ourselves.
Of course, it
Because
would.
being connected, you can always get inspired, even if you deal with an opinion or way of seeing things which is totally different from yours, but that always make you re-question your own beliefs. Is it what I believe in my reality, or it just, you know, adopted belief? And then
Right.
you have to rethink and make a decision and upgrade. I believe that we need to upgrade.
Yes, I like that. I like that, to keep the open mind. I'll have to
Yeah.
compare it to, so right now, the United States, everyone is saying here in the United States, everyone is all divided with Democrats and Republicans. It's almost like politics, and we have to be able to have an opinion, but also not belittle someone and maybe make fun of someone who has a different opinion from you. Maybe you should learn and take back and forth and kind of mature together forward. Yes?
Yes, for me, integrity is a big value and respect towards another human being
Yes.
on the
Yes.
first place.
Always, always, no matter anything. I agree. Now, if we discuss a little bit, maybe philosophical about dance, tell me, what is your definition of dance and then the verb dancing? Is there a difference?
Well, you can approach is it an art? Is it something beyond words? Probably, I would say
Is it maybe
beyond
a
words, because
feeling?
dancing happens through me. Why I find it so mystic or powerful, or what is it there, you know, that pulls us all consistently so strongly? Probably there is always an intention why we do something, so why I would dance. And probably people dance because there's so much joy in sensing the movement.
That
So
feeling,
already
right?
being present, alive, sensing it, sensing how one movement goes into another.
The
There's always a
transition.
purpose why we would dance. Of course, you can dance for various reasons, just for pleasure, or in competitive world, many people would train a lot in order to achieve something, because in Western society, achievements and results and trophies are a big thing. And it's okay if it is a good driving force for people to remain engaged, involved, totally present, mastering their skills, pulling out their maximum, discovering how unlimited human being in a way is, not just in a physical sense, but also in all others. For me, dancing always has as well a higher meaning, that layer of spirituality which dancing conveys, because through dancing we can connect with ourselves, with other people, with our own world of meaning, purpose, values.
Sure, it gives us a drive.
Yes, of course, we all know that the essence of dance is aesthetics. It's something we relate as beautiful. But it's because of that feeling, I would say. That's why we dance. It's difficult to describe it, and I also believe it's very personal, very unique. Always that emotional component within. So it's not just that you need your intellect to make your plans and visualize where you want to go. It simply embraces all layers of human existence. Therefore, I believe dancing can be way of living, can be way of healing, way of connecting, way of discovering, continuous learning, socializing.
I see.
For me, it's much more related to beingness rather becoming a champion. Let's put it this way.
I like it. I like it. Now, to discuss a little bit about that, every person is different. Now, dancing, as you said, is different to everyone. So, for example, maybe one person dancing is what they depend on because they don't have anything else good for them. Like maybe college is not good for them, or maybe a different job is not good for them. So they only depend on dancing. Or maybe somebody else takes it as a hobby and they can take it or leave it. So dancing has saved, maybe, let's say saved, many people's lives, both metaphorically and literally. So tell me, what about you? How has dancing impacted your life?
Well, I feel extremely grateful that I was invited into this world quite early and I stayed. So it is my profession, gave me opportunity to meet with people all around the world, make friendships, stayed in a beautiful relation with many of my ex-students from all over the world. So I believe through dancing, I could develop my human skills related to empathy, respect, curiosity, connectivity, gratefulness. That would the word grateful would embrace.
So the key word, just overall, just gratefulness. I like it very much. Now, we do have a question from an audience member. This audience member couldn't make it today, unfortunately, because he is currently in a meeting, but he's a really big fan of yours, Mr. Igor Golovich. Now, here's the question. Hello, Igor. I'm sure he'll be watching very soon. Here is the question that Igor has for you. In your opinion, what is male and female role on the dance floor? Also, how does she feel about the same-sex division and if it has a future in the ballroom dancing?
I believe if we would identify a little bit less with being in a role or playing the role of a man or a woman or a teacher or a student or carrying particular titles and all that stuff, we could start identifying with our real self, who we truly are, in a more direct and sincere way. So throughout the tradition, of course, we understand that ballroom dancing, couple dancing started or evolved through social dancing and so on. but maybe that male and female division is more present in the Western world, because in Latin America, doesn't matter of what gender or gender identity you are. Two men can dance together, two women, two gay or trans or transgender or binary or. So for me, dancing is the purest form of nonverbal communication between two human beings, regardless the gender. Possibly without playing any role, because I find that totally unnecessary. You cannot be more of a man, Alessandro, as you are. And what is your gender identity? It's your choice, which has to be acknowledged sincerely in relation to what you truly feel as a human being. So also competitive dancing, I believe, should be totally open for all people, regardless gender identity. It was actually in USA, I started to teach many years ago dancers of the same gender, and it was lovely. We still keep in contact, because the guys took care of my skin moisturizers, for example.
There you go.
I got
There you go.
fabulous advice.
There you go.
So what can I say? We are human beings, and everyone is entitled to live the life accordingly to genuine feeling we have within ourselves, without being judged, conditioned, labeled, or whatsoever.
You know, I do have a question that did bring some things up. Now, in our, let's call it industry, in our Danceport industry, many professionals, whether professionals is defined by a professional as an adjudicator, a professional dancer, just people who have a clear understanding of dance and have been dancing in a while, their social normality is, let's say, a traditional couple. And they say there are characteristics, let's take Paso, for example. There are characteristics of being of a matador man. You take these ideals and characteristics of a matador and put it into the dance board. Or, for example, the rumba, where you take characteristics of a scene with your lover, whether it's traditional couple, same-sex couple. Then, so with that being said, my question is, as an adjudicator, from a perspective of adjudicator, there are some adjudicators who are completely against it, who are like, no, I don't want to see this. And so even if they see it, automatically in their brain, they think, no, I'm going to vote this down, even if the quality might be good. So, and then there are some adjudicators who are completely for it, and sometimes they disregard the quality of the dancing. And because they're a same-sex couple, they want to place higher so that way the same-sex couple can make news, can make interviews, and kind of become like, I don't want to say famous. So how does an adjudicator, let's say, judge fairly? How does an adjudicator judge fairly a same-sex couple against a traditional couple if there are adjudicators who believe in characteristics of the roles between the dancers?
Well, dance character has not much to do with telling the stories about Tarzan and Jane and Happy Cha-Cha-Cha and Carnival Samba. I believe an adjudicator is entitled to analyze and evaluate movement qualities, symbolic values of the movement, which are not necessarily related to storytelling in a simple way. So a true expert would definitely try to focus on movement qualities and symbolic value behind, and all variety of moods, atmospheres that can be expressed through different dances and performances. So I don't see it so black and white. You also mentioned a lot the world dance industry. I always admired Tesla company, for example, because you cannot find a lot of advertising, and yet we all know They produce the best electric cars in the
Yeah.
world.
We all
So
want the
why
Tesla.
in that company marketing is not the front line? Why they focus in engineering? Because the quality speaks for itself.
There you go. Yep.
And I believe also in dancing, a good movement, good dance expression talks for itself. So if we would have a little bit less of this marketing and whatever people do in order to become successful, you know, all those posts and my couples and promotions and buying the result and politics and setting the result in advance, actually all very harmful towards everyone, especially young people.
Almost toxic, yeah?
Yes, and I believe that we all also can contribute, that focus would be the dance and the beauty of the dance expression as such, and not self-promotion and other issues related to roles, titles, positions, and so on.
Right. Intriguing. Now, you mentioned younger dancers, so I'd like to speak about younger dancers for a second. So what advice, all right, would you give to a youth dancer that is transitioning from high school into the real world? Now, what I mean by that, of course, high school is already a kind of a difficult time for anybody because you're kind of taking those baby steps into the real world. Now, as a dancer, dancing takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort. You really have to put into it if you want to be competitive and high competitive. So how would a young youth dancer transition from high school into the real world of the Danceport world?
Well, I believe that is extremely individual and different from country to country. If I take my country as an example and many other European countries, I know a lot of dancers who are or were extremely successful through their dance career and in the meantime managed to finish universities, PhDs, master degrees, and so on. It's a matter of decision. You can always do parallel studying and competing. Of course, if you have a good plan, timetable, and you know how to make your own decisions. Maybe in your country this is not possible. I wouldn't know that because I know that when people finish high school and if they decide to carry on studying, that is extremely expensive. So people need to be totally 100% then present there and probably less time to have a parallel career. But on the other hand, maybe there are some ways of studying subjects that are dance related. So competitive career and studying could always merge, in my opinion.
Right, something that can work together with the dancing.
Well, as
Now
long as you know what you want, because if it's
of course,
complex, difficult, requires better organization. But I totally believe that if you go for something you want, if you're totally devoted, if you follow your goals, if you own your decisions, not that you are owned by others, then you will make it.
you'll make it. As long as you have the dreams. If there's a will, there's a way. Here you go.
Yeah,
Now,
dreams is maybe not enough. You have to go into the right action.
yes, and build the path. Now, we do have a question from our audience members. She asks, what makes some dancers appealing emotionally while others do not connect emotionally, no matter how technically excellent they are? That's a good question.
Yes, it's a very good question. I would say one cannot exist without another, you know. You can be technically very good, but to be technically more than very good, perfect, you need to go through the process where doing becomes sensing. Because doing as such in a physical manner normally feels for an outlooker a little bit dry.
Yes.
The moment dancer has the capacity to translate doing into the sensing and regulating motion, not only by knowing what is technically correct, but applying other layers of tacit knowledge, like intuitive feeling for time, for space, when the animal, your instinct, stays present and vital and alive, and then your intuition and intellect and instinct merge
Together.
together, and you are still there, like observing or watching yourself from the point of awareness.
Yes.
I believe it is awareness
Being
of
aware of.
sensing and being present, and
In the moment.
in the moment you kind of disappear into it.
Yes, and you
Then
just
of
kind of
course,
disappear and fall in love with everything. You just
I don't
see what
think
you're
you need
saying.
to fall in love. You need to deliver the task, but when
Yes.
your big I goes a little bit into the backstage, and there is space for it, for the dance, for the sense of it, for your own way of delivering it.
Yes,
Then
I
of
agree.
course there is a particular feeling attached to that, because movement manners are choices, and dynamic contrasts are choices, and all that makes it feel vital, present. It magnets others.
Yes, it attracts people. Yes. Now, we do have a video question sent in from the one and only Becky Hamrick. Let me pull it up. Here is her video message.
Hi, Barbara. This is Becky Hamrick, and my husband and I had a lesson with you in 2019, which is almost 3 years ago at Southeastern. We enjoyed it very much, and I want to thank you again for that. I actually have two questions for you today. One is about you, and it is, looking back on your life and your career in dance, if you had it to do over again, would you choose a career in the dance industry again, or would you choose to do something different? And why would you make the choice? The second question I have is about advice, and that is, what is the most important message you can think of that you would choose to give to all dancers, regardless of age, current level, just people who love to dance and compete? Thank you, and I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person to ask my questions. I look forward to hearing your response.
All right. Thank you, Becky. And the floor, Miss Barbara.
Thank you, Becky. I remember yourself and your husband and our little time together, yes, years ago in the studio. So the first question, I hope if I would be reborn and have a possibility to decide as I did in my current life, that I would be blessed with the same decision. So I would be gladly a dance teacher.
You would redo it all again, yes.
Absolutely. Going through all the struggles and glories of this profession. But I love it. Enjoy it. About advices, I'm learning not to give advices or opinions to others, because we all have our own reasons choices to make, decisions to make. As long as we stay sincere in what we are doing and honest and being aware of our real value. Because it's so easy when we are part of greater society and our identity is always related to how other people see us.
Mm-hmm.
It is quite a wisdom to maintain your true identity, your own authenticity as a human being. So you stay and maintain yourself, not overpowered by other people, opinions or demands or requests of the market and so on. So that you have the strength and trust into your world of values.
Mm-hmm.
Then I believe you will be always on a good path.
There you go, guys. So remember, it's always individual, very personalized. I like it very much. All right, Miss Barbara, this is the conclusion of our interview. I learned so much. I do like everything that you mentioned, from the Cuban experience to all these different views on the dance sport industry. I think all of our viewers and our future viewers who will watch this interview will come out a little differently in the mindset. So I want to thank you so much, Miss Barbara, for coming on Scalora Danceport. It was truly an honor to host you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your kind invitation. It was a pleasure for me too. Stay
Thank
safe
you. Yes,
and
will do.
healthy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Viewers, thank you so much for coming out. We enjoyed all of your questions. Igor Golovich, thank you so much. Becky, thank you so much for your questions. We will see you guys, Scalora Danceport viewers, in December. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.